Good morning, everybody. Shefa Brucha V'Atzlucha. We are now in parashat Mischpatim. The laws of the Torah are being explained to us, and the beginning is a very interesting pasuk that says, "Ve'ele hamishpatim asher tasim lifnehem." Those are the laws that you're going to put in front of them. And there are many explanations about understanding what's the meaning of asher tasim lifnehem. Rashi said, in front of them and not in front of goyim. In other words, that is a special laws for us. And here, automatically we ask a question. What are the special laws that Am Yisrael's got? We would think tefillin, mezuzah, kosher food, Pesach, Sukkot, all those things. There are religious mitzvahs that only Am Yisrael's got them. But when we go through the parasha, we see that most of the mitzvot, the Mischpatim that are written there, are normal behavior of every society, laws to organize a normal, good society. You're not allowed to steal, you're not allowed to make damage to friends, and so on and on. All those mitzvahs are really something normal. Says Rashi, you're not allowed, even if it looks the same, you're not allowed to go to a court of goyim. You're not to go to a normal court. And why? If you stole something, definitely you have to give it back. So what's the problem going to a normal court? Why do I need to go to a Beis Din? So, Torah tells you, even if it looks from the outside the same, it is not the same. Some of the things, even when we understand them and we look into them, we'll find out that a lot of the laws are really, from the outside, maybe similar, but nothing to do with all the goyim. And even if we don't understand the deepness of the laws of the Torah, we still have to go to the laws of the Torah because this is the reality. For example, taking a murderer. You know, in order to bring a murderer to court in the Jewish law, it's almost impossible. Why? Because you need to warn him, you need to see it, the real action. The action has to be right away, and then you need two witnesses. So if you're by yourself, it's still no good. Now, let's imagine to yourself somebody running with a knife after a guy, and you see them running into a house, and you come to the house a minute later, or even 20 seconds later, and you see the guy lying on the floor, is being killed with a knife, and the guy is holding a knife above him, and it's dropping blood. Obviously, he killed the guy, and there is nobody else there. You can look on this, the room is empty. It's nothing you can do, because you were not there when the action was being made. And also, you're only one witness. So even if you've been there, it also doesn't help. So in other words, you can see the murder, you can warn him, you can do everything, and still you have a problem because you are only one witness. Al pi shtayim edim yakum davar. So what do? It's amazing. So there is a system, if you're sure with this, the kings used to close a guy in a kippah. Kippah is like a closed place, but they didn't feed him, and he died from hunger, whatever. But I'm not going to go into this. Right away we see that there is a difference between the Jewish law and the other law. And we know all over the world, sometimes they accuse somebody in murder, and then 20, 30 years later, they found out he wasn't the guy who did it. Now, if he's in jail, you can release him. But if there is a death penalty in this place, what are you going to do now? You kill the guy that is innocent. He didn't do it. And it happens. You can look around and you see those things happen. So the Torah, she knows that you know certain things, and certain things you really cannot go into it. The Torah, that's what she said. And if you understand it or not understand, that's also, it's not important. And we're talking about murder. The Torah, in our Torah, is if somebody shames somebody in public, he is like a murderer. Yes. Unbelievable. The Goyim, you don't have to go to the Goyim. We see the papers and all the things was going around. There's talking and shaming, and people are shaming each other in gossip and things, dirty things on each other. The Torah says that doing a thing like this is a murder. taking interest. We are not allowed to take interest from another Jewish guy, but we are allowed to take a credit interest from a goy. Wow, it's not fair. So let's think for a minute. A goy, is he allowed to take interest from his friend? Of course he is. He's got no problem with it. But we, Am Yisrael, kulam arevim ze baze. Am Yisrael is one nation. We are all one big family, and we don't take interest from our family. We don't allow to give, and we don't allow to take. But the goyim, they don't act like this. So what's the problem? There's no problem. I am allowed not to take. Allowed. It's a logical thing. If my brother comes and wants a loan, I'm going to give him. I'm going to take interest. Of course not. He's my brother. He's my father. He's my son. He's my whatever. And that's all Am Yisrael. But the goy, he doesn't have this relationship. He's got no let's say, special connection with his friend or with the other guy. So he takes interest. So from my side, there's no problem to take from him interest. And we can go on and on and on through the laws of the Torah and realize that it's a whole different story. And this is what we understand. And also in other things. So this is the first thing to understand, that our laws are not the same as the laws of the Goyim. And by the way, if we're talking about court of Goyim, a normal court here in Israel also is a problem. It is considered to be a bet mishpat that doesn't go with the laws of the Torah, so it's considered to be a bet mishpat ul goyim. So what should you do? That's the way the country is being handled. You cannot go to a beis din on everything. So if we want to be, let's say, go on the way of the Torah, and want to be really particular about it, so we have to understand two things. If somebody sends me an invitation to the court, I've got nothing to do, I have to go. But if I am the one who is suing somebody else, so what I should do is, first of all, go to the beis din. Now, if there's somebody, let's say the other guy, he doesn't want to go to beis din, so of course you've got no option. You have to go to the normal court. But you have to go through the beis din, and the beis din permits you to do or to go to the normal court. But that's the real way to do it. And if both sides are religious and they want to have something between them, of course they have to go to a beis din and not to the normal court. But let's leave this alone. This is one of the explanations. Those are the laws that you're going to put in front of them. Another explanation is also amazing. Says Rashi, don't think that you're going to tell them those laws once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and you go, oh, I explained to them a few times. No. You have to make sure that they understand what it's all about, like a ready meal sitting in front of them. What does it mean? Somebody is hungry and you want to be a good guy, you give him a chicken that he has to cook it and prepare it and then have a plate. No. You should cook the chicken or roast it or whatever and put it on a plate, on the table, with a knife, with a fork. The only thing that the guy has to do is to cut and eat. The same way, says Kadosh Baruch Hu to Moshe Rabbeinu, you have to explain the laws of the Torah. All the laws. And this is very interesting. We're talking, says Or HaChaim HaKadosh, on the laws that are written in our parsha. What's the difference between our laws and the laws on all the other laws? What those you have to know all the details and the others not? It's very logical. You see, there are certain things that we live with them in the daily life, and we need to know them in all the details, because we do it every day. You cannot run to the rabbi and ask every small thing. What should I lay tefillin today? Should I wash my hands, nitilat yadayim, in the morning? Should I eat kosher? Should I eat? Those are normal things. Those things that you have to know. So Moshe, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Moshe Rabbeinu, you see, there are certain laws that you have to make sure that everybody understand them with all the small details, so they can do it without asking questions. Then there are, of course, other things. You cannot teach them all the laws of the Torah to be geniuses, and that. For this, you have a rabbi. So if there is a certain question, you go and ask the rabbi. But you cannot go and ask the rabbi everything. So Kadosh Baruch Hu said, Moshe Rabbeinu, Ele Mischpatim, those are the laws you're going to put in front of them, like a ready meal to be eaten. Because those things are normal things, and we look at the Pasha, we see those are things that every society has to be handled like this. So you have to know those things. This is another explanation, Asher Tasim Lifnehem. And another beautiful explanation, Ele Mischpatim Asher Tasim Lifnehem. Says Lifnehem, the laws you come in front of the leaders. Yes. Sometimes the leader, the judges, they think they are above the law. They can do whatever they want to. Says the Torah, Ele Mishpatim Asher Tasim Lifnehem. First of all, you go to all the judges, to all the leaders, and you tell them, those are the laws. You are the first one to practice the law, to know the law, and only then you can judge others. You can lead others. It's like in life, when you are in charge of something, when you want to tell people to do something, you have to do it first. I was in the army, in the military police, and when you had the job to go out on a mission, let's say 6 o'clock in the morning, you had to be ready 15 minutes before. Ready. In other words, you could go into the car and start it at 15 minutes before the time. Then we had to put, I don't know how you call it, we had to be perfect. All the buttons shut down, clean, shiny shoes. And if your shoes were not shiny, wow. And we were all complaining, why do we have to be different from others? Why do we have to be so particular about things? And the answer was very simple. You are in charge on the law. And if you're in charge of the law, you have to be the law, you have to practice the law, and you have to show a sample to others. And this is exactly what the Torah is telling. Ele Mishpatim Asher Tasim Lifnehem. You cannot just go and judge people if you are wrong, if you are corrupt. First of all, you fix yourself. You be a sample to others. It's like I always tell the story when I was smoking years ago. And my son started smoking because I found out that I had a packet in the car, and I used to smoke one box a week or even more. I didn't smoke a lot. And suddenly I see every 2 days I have to replace the box, buy a new packet of cigarettes. And then I realized that my son started smoking. So what do you do now? What are you going to tell your son? Okay, stop smoking. What do you do? It's not good for you. It's not healthy. What's my son going to say? You are smoking. You want me to stop smoking? You are smoking. So I stopped smoking on the spot. You know what my son said? Okay, I smoke till I get to your age, and then I stop. What do you answer to this? But that's exactly the point. You ask people to do things, you have to make sure that you are the one who does them first. I didn't. I could say, okay, I'm going on smoking, and I stopped smoking. And I kept my word, and I didn't smoke. And my son eventually realized that it's so important for me that a guy that used to smoke, stopped smoking because of him, because I don't want him to smoke, he stopped smoking. So the influence is there only if you practice the law. What you preach, you are the first one to practice. Because otherwise, it's got no meaning. It's not going to go. And this is a big lesson that our parasha is telling us. Ve'ele hamishpatim asher tasim lifnehem. So we saw a few explanations about the Mishpatim, the laws of the Torah, understanding. There's also another important point. Ve'ele is a vav on ve'ele. So Rashi says, ve'ele is the meaning that, like what we read in last Parsha, the 10 Commandments is from Sinai, from God directly. Also those laws in the Parsha are directly from God. So don't make a difference between the 10 Commandments and the laws of the Torah, because they are both from Sinai, from the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And here we saw, really very interesting, a few explanations about Ve'ele HaMishpatim Asher Tasim Lifnehem. And if you think that that's the only explanations, there are more. It's very interesting, and it's a point that I have to talk about for a few seconds, that we are talking about a whole big look around what's happening now with the Mishpatim, with the judges, with the with how do we elect the judges and all this thing around it, a whole big mess, a whole big balagan. Look at the Torah. Interesting. While this is happening, the Torah, last parsha, is talking about who are the judges that we have to nominate. Yitro comes and tells us. And then we receive the laws of the Torah, the 10 commandments. And in our parsha, we're talking about the Mischpatim, about the laws, about judging. Unbelievable. Just to show us that we have to be so careful with how we behave. And if we want to know how to behave, it's very simple. Look at the parsha. The parsha is talking to us. And the judges have to be, first of all, a sample. Are they? And I'm not going to go into it. Because the majority of the people want to change the system. How and with whom or how to do it, that's another question. But everybody agrees that the way it is today, it's not the right way. We understand even more that if we want to be judged or to sue somebody, if we want to do it in the real way, we have to do it through the Beis Din, because our laws, our judges are not the same as the judges of the Goyim. And the minute that you are putting the judges like the judges of the Goyim, you're already in a big problem. But that's a whole big issue. I wish for all of us that we will have judges that are a sample to all of us, and to understand and realize that the only way to judge somebody and to do it in the right way is through the Torah. All the best and have a beautiful week.